Sometimes the people we trust the most turn out to be the ones we should fear. Today, I'm bringing you a case that shocked the state of Kentucky and exposed a dark betrayal that no one saw coming. This is the story of Elena Bardin, a 27-year-old teacher who was supposed to guide troubled teens toward a better future. Instead, she became their worst nightmare. If this story leaves you speechless, make sure to comment what state you're watching from, and subscribe to American Shadow for more true crime stories that will keep you up at night. Let's dive in. The teacher. Everyone trusted in Kentucky. There's a juvenile detention center where young people who've made mistakes are sent, not to be punished forever, but to learn, to grow, and hopefully to change their lives. And at this facility there was a teacher named Elena Bardin. She was 27 years old, young, energetic, and seemed dedicated to her job. On the surface, she appeared to be exactly what these kids needed. Someone who cared, someone who believed in second chances. But behind closed doors, Elena Bardin was living a double life, and what she was doing was unspeakable. The abuse begins among the teens. Elena taught there was one boy, a vulnerable young man who was already dealing with his own trauma, his own mistakes. He was locked up, isolated from the world, and desperately in need of guidance. Elena saw that vulnerability, and she exploited it. According to prosecutors, Elena didn't just cross professional boundaries, she shattered them. She began a sexual relationship with this teenage inmate, someone she was supposed to protect, someone who was under her care. Think about that for a moment. This wasn't a relationship between equals. This was an authority figure, someone with power, taking advantage of a child who had nowhere to run, no way to escape. But it gets worse. Elena didn't just abuse this teen in person. She sent him explicit photos, letters filled with inappropriate content, and messages that no adult should ever send to a child. And then, prosecutors uncovered something even more sinister. A plot to kill. As investigators dug deeper into the letters Elena had sent to this teen, they found something chilling. In her own handwriting, Elena had allegedly discussed having the boy kill her husband. Let that sink in. A teacher, abusing a teenage inmate, was allegedly trying to manipulate him into committing murder. Prosecutors argued that Elena wasn't just a predator. She was dangerous. She was willing to use this vulnerable teen as a weapon, to eliminate someone standing in the way of whatever twisted fantasy she had created in her mind. When the case went to trial, the evidence was laid out for the jury. The explicit photos, the letters, the conversations, all of it painted a picture of a woman who had completely lost her moral compass. But here's where things took an unexpected turn. The verdict. The jury found Elena Bardin guilty of sexually abusing the teenage inmate. The evidence was overwhelming, and there was no question that she had committed these heinous acts. But when it came to the charge of solicitation to commit murder, the jury acquitted her. Why? Elena's defense team argued that the discussions about killing her husband were just a joke. Dark humor, they claimed. Nothing serious, nothing real. And somehow, the jury believed it. Or at least they had enough reasonable doubt not to convict her on that charge. Now, I don't know about you, but when you're in a position of power, when you're already abusing a child, I find it hard to believe that joking about having them kill someone is just harmless fun. But the law requires proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And in this case, the jury decided there wasn't enough evidence to prove Elena truly intended for her husband to be murdered. Still, even without that conviction, Elena Bardin is facing serious consequences. Justice or not enough? Elena was found guilty of sexually abusing a minor, and she now faces up to 14 years in prison. Her sentencing is scheduled for November, and the judge will decide just how long she'll spend behind bars. 14 years, that's a long time. But is it enough? This teen, whoever he is, will carry the trauma of what Elena did to him for the rest of his life. He was already in a detention center, already struggling, and then someone who was supposed to help him destroyed whatever trust he had left. And let's not forget, Elena was married. She had a husband at home, someone who presumably had no idea what she was doing. Can you imagine being that person? Finding out your spouse wasn't just unfaithful, but was abusing a child and allegedly talking about having you killed. The ripple effects of Elena's actions are devastating. And while 14 years is significant, some people are arguing it's not nearly enough for the damage she's caused. Why do people like Elena do this? Cases like this always leave us asking the same question. Why? Why would a 27-year-old woman, someone with her whole life ahead of her, throw it all away to abuse a child? Psychologists who study cases like this often point to a few common factors. Some offenders are attracted to the power dynamics, the control they have over vulnerable individuals. Others have deep-seated psychological issues that drive them toward inappropriate relationships. And then there are those who simply believe they won't get caught. They think they're smarter than everyone else, that they can hide their actions forever. But here's the truth: they almost always get caught, and when they do, their lives are destroyed, along with the lives of their victims. Elena Bardin is now a convicted sex offender. Her teaching career is over. Her marriage is likely destroyed, and she's facing more than a decade in prison. Was it worth it? Of course not. But for someone like Elena, logic and morality clearly went out the window a long time ago. The bigger picture. This case is part of a deeply troubling trend. Over the past few years, we've seen more and more cases of teachers, coaches, and authority figures being arrested for abusing the children in their care. Some people argue that these cases are just being reported more often now, that this has always been happening, but social media and 24-hour news cycles are shining a light on it. Others believe there's something more sinister at play, that predators are actively seeking out positions of power over vulnerable people. Whatever the reason, one thing is clear: we need to do more to protect our children. Background checks, oversight, and accountability. These things matter. And when someone violates that trust, the consequences need to be severe. Elena Bardin is a reminder that monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look like the people we trust the most. Final thoughts. As Elena Bardin awaits her sentencing in November, we're left with a lot of questions. Will she show remorse? Will she take responsibility for what she's done? Or will she continue to play the victim, claiming it was all just a misunderstanding? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: the teen she abused will never forget what she did to him. And neither will the community that trusted her. If this story shocked you, make sure to comment what state you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe to American Shadow, because we're not done uncovering the dark truths that hide in plain sight. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.